Part 9. Infinity Throne. Author, by Yi Shueshi. Chapter 81. The old ghost hunter, no, I should say the former legendary ghost hunter, Naixiu. When he heard from Yilin's mouth the real name he had given up for many years, his cloudy eyes suddenly shot out two rays of light. Like electricity and frost. Sharp and cold. How did you know? A few seconds later, Naixiu didn't wait for Yilin to answer, and continued to talk to himself. It's been 10 years, does anyone outside still remember me, Naixiu? Yilin smiled and said nothing. Didn't answer either. Guess. He couldn't tell Naixiu that when he understood the killing technique, a certain will thoughtfully exposed Naixiu's little secret. The more Yilin didn't say anything, the more Naixiu thought about it. Naixiu's face was ashen as he looked at Pan Zhenji, who was standing in front of him with a smile. In Naixiu's hand, he also held the broken knife used for carving bones. In Pan Zhenji's hand, there was also a broken knife. There were still whispers in Yilin's ears from time to time. In the sea of flowers on the other side, that inexplicable feeling made Yilin feel uncomfortable all over. As if dragging him into endless madness. Even the air around him was filled with an icy chill. Eerie. This ghostly mist mountain is a little weird. Perhaps, as Bonaflower explains, this place is at the junction of yin and yang. Living people here should not stay for long. Nai Hongxiu, who are you? Yilin raised her head and asked suddenly. Naixiu remained silent. Close your eyes. After a moment, Naixiu was shocked. A terrifying momentum swept across the sea of flowers. The petals on the other side of the sky formed spiral columns and rose into the sky. Finally, behind Naixiu, it condensed into a ferocious skeleton. Veins appeared faintly around Naixiu's right eye. When he opened his eyes again, the right eye had turned blood red. It's like a ghost. At the same time, the broken knife in Naixiu's hand ignited with black flames. Not only did the flame not emit scorching heat, it actually caused the temperature on the top of the ghostly mist mountain to suddenly drop a few points. Naixiu spoke again, but his voice became erratic and hoarse. At first glance, it sounded like an evil ghost returning from hell, exuding boundless evil thoughts. No one can escape from this mountain. This is a cursed place. Everyone must die. Pan Zhenji suddenly took a few steps back. Yo! Pan Zhenji chuckled and his eyes lit up. Ha ha, fun. Pan Zhenji shook his right hand, and the broken knife in his hand also ignited black flames. Naixiu's pupils shrank slightly. You actually also? Naixiu's cold eyes were filled with surprise. Pan Zhenji didn't waste any time. He moved and directly carried the broken knife with special effects attached to it and killed Naixiu. Naixiu smiled coldly, facing Pan Zhenji's offensive. He was not afraid and fought directly together. Dang 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 dang. The speed of the two people became faster and faster, setting off countless petals in the sea of flowers. Gradually, it became increasingly difficult to distinguish the movements of the two people. In Yilin's eyes, it seemed that there were only two black flames, which were separated by one touch, and separated again by another touch. Sudden. A figure flew out towards Yilin. Vomiting blood. An arm flew into the sky. It was cut off abruptly. Yilin had no expression on her face and slowly stretched out her hand. The flying figure was about to hit Yilin, but it was about 10 centimeters away from Yilin's hand when it suddenly stopped. Then he fell to the ground slumped. It's Pan Zhenji. Pan Zhenji's left hand was severed at the shoulder level, and there was even a black will-o'-the-wisp burning on the wound, but not a drop of blood came out. The will-o'-the-wisp corroded the fractured shoulder. Pan Zhenji was sweating profusely, his face was pale, and his forehead was covered with cold sweat. Yilin waved her palm on Pan Zhenji's shoulder, and the black will-o'-the-wisp suddenly went out. Shishi. After the black flames extinguished, Pangenji's broken shoulder spurted out blood. After Naixiu cut off Pangenji's arm with a knife, he didn't pause and walked towards Yilin step by step without saying a word. With a movement of his body, he actually made a path in the sea of flowers, and countless petals were swept behind Naixiu by the strong wind. Yilin casually threw a ghost oil card to Pangenji. I don't have time to care too much at the moment. Because, Naixiu had come to kill him with great force. Extremely fast. From now on let. Snort. Naixiu snorted coldly and swept his right hand. Wherever the broken knife passed, fierce wind pressure swept away, raising a large number of petals to hide his figure. Yilin's pupils narrowed. Unexpectedly, Naixiu actually saw the weakness of disaster-ridden. 1. There is a singing process. 2. It must be within sight. Although this old man is old, he has rich combat experience. A hint of surprise flashed in Yilin's eyes, but she was not too surprised or frustrated. Being plagued by disaster is not a completely unsolvable skill, and there will always be times when someone sees a flaw. As an apostle, his skills are many and complex, and it is impossible to travel all over the world with one formula. Naixiu's eyes were cold. The red right eye was like a ghost, shining with blood-colored light. The petals all over the sky not only blocked Yilin's sight, but also blocked Naixiu's sight. But it doesn't matter. Naixiu had already memorized Yilin's location. Boy, you are too young. Naixiu felt a little regretful. This kid could learn the breathing method that took him 10 years to master in just one glance. He was a genius. But, no matter what, we can't let this kid dig out that thing. Otherwise, his 10 years of arrangements and 10 years of hard work will be in vain. Die. Pity. Naixiu sighed silently in his heart. Naixiu's body moved, his ghostly aura was like the wind, his hand broke off the knife, black flames surged, and the knife struck at the end of the petals on the other side of the sky. That's Yilin's position. Hiss. The black sword light tore through the void. The petals in front of the two of them were cut into a gap. Every petal on the other side, slightly touched by the black flame, will instantly wither and wither. What? Suddenly, when Naixiu split the petals in the sky with a knife and saw clearly the two tombstones, he was shocked. There. Empty. There are only two lonely graves. The graves of Nai Hongxiu and Bai Xiaoi. Escaped. Naixiu's pupils shrank suddenly, and the next moment, he looked into the sky. Under that bloody moon, Yilin actually floated in mid-air, her back standing proudly. Behind it is the blood moon. Naixiu opened his mouth wide. Yilin smiled slightly in mid-air. At this moment, Yilin's figure looked like a god descending on the moon. The palm of your hand, press down. In another part of the foggy forest, the surroundings gradually became dark. Li Chang'e and Wen Mani took off their sabers and put them aside, snuggling together. There seems to be something wrong with the atmosphere. No one knows what the foreplay was like. Anyway, the speed is very fast. There were messy wheel marks all over the ground. Gig. Nini. Gig. Nini. Ah. Wen Mani's face was flushed and her legs were pressed together. Li Chang'e also had a trace of confusion in his eyes. The two got closer and closer. Sudden. There was a sudden tremor on the ground. Boom. In the distance, there was a loud noise. From the side of Giwu Mountain. As soon as the shock was heard, the two people sitting on the ground shivered. Like a beaten deer, Wen Mani stood up and hurriedly arranged her clothes. Well, the weather is quite nice today. Li Chang'e touched his head and said this awkwardly. Ah. No, Gag, it's getting dark soon. Li Chang'e seemed to have just noticed that the thick fog around him had been dyed blood color at some point. In front of me. A bloody red. Go back to the village quickly. Li Changa's eyes were focused, but a hint of panic flashed deep in his eyes. He quickly put the saber on the ground into Wen Mani's hand. The two of them ran towards the village in a panic. Infinity Throne. Author, by Yi Shueshi. Chapter 82. The top of Giwu Mountain. The intersection of yin and yang. The blood moon is coming. Yilin raised her head. On the horizon, there was only a faint ray of sun left. The blood moon overhead completely occupied the sky. At first glance, it seems that the whole eye is filled with the blood moon, and it feels like the moon is falling towards the ground. The handover between heaven and earth is nothing more than this. Shut up. The whisper in Yilin's ear fell silent for a moment when Yilin shouted violently, and then continued to whisper crazily. The surrounding atmosphere is cold, and the sea of flowers scattered all over the ground is no longer as gorgeous and beautiful as it was at the beginning. Looking down from the air, a huge palm print was deeply imprinted on the top of the mountain. It was as if a giant had slapped the skull head, turning the flat head into a concave head. It's the kind of beating that's very hard. And in the slap pit, a one-armed old man with 3 limbs curled up was lying in the center. Huh? This posture looks familiar for some reason. I couldn't remember it for a while. It seems to be the death pose of a person named Yasha. Saw it on TV. Childhood enlightenment cartoon. Forgot. Yilin couldn't remember it for a while and didn't think much about it. He slowly floated down from mid-air. Stay next to Naishiu. The moment she landed, Yilin's body shook slightly. His face looked a little more pale. Yilin's face was expressionless as he looked at Naishiu, who was lying on his side. Naishiu is not dead. Yilin didn't kill him either. Naishiu, however, seemed to be dead, motionless, his eyes dull, staring ahead indifferently. If you look carefully, Naishiu's pupils have no focus at all, as if he has lost his soul. The whispering in Yilin's ears moved more crazily as her spiritual energy was consumed, as if she wanted to completely take away Yilin's sanity. His mind was filled with all kinds of crazy thoughts, and he couldn't calm down at all. Is it too much consumption? Yilin suddenly looked at the place between the two tombs, which looked like a place where soil had been passed over, and she understood clearly. Everything is hidden there. That place is the root of all this. A secret that Naishiu desperately wanted to protect. Anything else to say? Yilin ignored Naishiu and walked between the two tombs. Naishiu had given up resistance now, and he did not look towards Yilin. He just buried his head and squeezed out a hoarse voice from Naishiu's mouth. Is this your new ghost hunting technique? Yilin did not look back. Keep going. It wasn't until he came between the two tombs that he replied slowly, just take it as such. You, cough cough cough. Naishiu just said a word and suddenly coughed violently. He spat out mouthfuls of black blood. After a while, Naishiu continued, in the past 10 years, countless ghost hunters have come to this mountain. Oh. While listening, Yilin took out Xiao Shizhen's ancient knife and used it as a shovel to dig up the soil. Naishiu trembled slightly as he lay in the palm pit in response to Yilin's actions, but did not stop him. Also, powerless to stop it, Yilin continued to dig, and dig. Small mounds of earth quickly formed around it. Naishiu continued, there are other ghost hunters, like you, who finally found this place. And then they all died in your hands. Yilin was not surprised and asked. Naishiu did not admit it. But he didn't deny it. Where's the body? Push it down. Naishiu's tone was calm, neither happy nor sad. Huh, and then turned into a ghost. Under Yilin's shovel, the soil gradually became harder and harder to dig. Yilin was not in a hurry and chatted with Naishiu while digging the soil. It's just that Yilin's expression seemed calm, but countless crazy thoughts were uncontrollably pouring out of her heart. There seemed to be countless crazy voices, laughing, neighing, wailing, and murmuring in his ears. Yilin couldn't even tell which side she was on now. The intersection of yin and yang. Yang, or yin. It seems that there is a strange existence under the shovel. As Yilin digs deeper, it becomes more and more mysterious, choosing people to eat. Yilin was suddenly very happy that her willpower attribute was high enough and she had a certain resistance to negative effects. Otherwise, before the mysterious things under the soil were dug out, he might have been tortured by the crazy whispers and went crazy. Naixiu was increasingly shocked. He actually wanted to say that even if he didn't kill those ghost hunters, they would never be able to dig out something like that. That's something ominous. No one can resist that kind of ominousness. But Naixiu found that Yilin was digging shovel after shovel as if nothing had happened. He saw that the digging was getting deeper and deeper, and the pile of soil dug out beside him was getting higher and higher. So you can bear it? Naixiu thought so in his heart. Nai Hongxiu and Bai Xiaoai, who are you? Yilin continued to ask. Hongxiu is my daughter, Xiaoai, my apprentice. They were also ghost hunters. Xiaoai is your granddaughter. Yilin was a little curious about this. No, Naixiu shook his head. When a person turns into a ghost, he will lose all his memory. Oh. Yilin roughly understood. Sudden. Yilin made a move. The whole body was stiff. Naixiu chuckled. His complexion gradually turned blue. The slightly opened mouth gradually stretched out two slender fangs. Even the cloudy left eye gradually became filled with a layer of blood. Boy, you are very smart. But you only guessed one thing wrong. My arm was not cut off by red sleeves. The person who cut off this arm is me. If you don't cut off your arm, how can you resist that terrible madness? Naixiu knew that everyone would die here. He only hopes that Hongxiu and Xiaoai can successfully transcend and leave this cursed land as he planned, even if live as a ghost. Except for Xiaoai and Hongxiu, everyone must die. Everyone will be completely swallowed by this mountain. Hey hey hey. Naixiu smiled coldly. In the palm pit, the joints of his three limbs twisted, and he stood up slowly. Those eyes turned completely blood red. Naixiu turned into a ghost. The ghost slayer finally turned into a ghost. Lie back, old man. Laugh. A broken knife appeared silently and passed directly through Naixiu's back. After Pangenji applied ghost oil on his left shoulder, he successfully stopped the bleeding and finally prevented the decline in his health. In the blink of an eye, the once famous legendary ghost hunter Naixiu turned into black ash and sprinkled it on the top of Ghost Mist Mountain. TCH, is this D level? Pangenji squinted his eyes and twitched the corners of his mouth slightly. After getting rid of the old ghost hunter who turned into a ghost, Pangenji raised his knife and looked at the stiff back in front of him, with a dangerous light flashing in his eyes. Just when Pangenji hesitated. After a few seconds, Yilin let out a long sigh of relief. Use the fastest speed to stuff something into the storage space. In an instant, all the whispers disappeared. Yilin looked pale, but turned around with a smile. Now, it's your turn. Are you, Pangenji? Yes and no. Pangenji put away the knife. To make it easier to distinguish, let's call you Xiao Pan. Pangenji's mouth twitched slightly. Big Pan. Yilin is very confident in her taste in naming. Pangenji's eyes twitched again. What about Xiao Yi? Pan is evil. Great wisdom. Pan Xiaozhang. Okay, just Pan Xiaozhang. Pan Xiaozhang said immediately, fearing that the named waste in front of him would say something unpleasant again. The blood moon is coming. When Li Chang'e and Wen Mani returned to the village was in shambles. Oda Mai stood alone in the middle of the village. She has a knife in her hand. The long sword stood sideways at Mai Oda's side. With her back to the two of them, Oda Mai looked like a Valkyrie on the battlefield, exuding awe-inspiring and inviolable authority. The village was deserted. Silence and silence. Like a dead village. For the sake of timely updates. Do you have your tickets? There must be one, right? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Infinity Throne. Author, by Yi Shueshi. Chapter 83. Village. The crows hovering on the roof also disappeared. What about the rest? Li Changa's expression changed, and regardless of fear, he came directly to Oda Wu and asked loudly. Oda Mai turned around. His face was a bit pale. Her injuries have not fully healed. Although ghost oil can speed up wound healing to some extent. But as those countless silver hairs passed through his body, the injuries inside his body were far more serious than they appeared on the outside. Died. Oda Mai said coldly. When Li Changa heard this, his scalp felt numb, all dead. Oda Mai didn't explain too much. The fog became thicker and thicker, it was blood-colored fog. Thicker than every night. Under the exaggerated blood moon above their heads, everyone seemed to be soaked in a sea of blood. Every inch of skin exposed outside the clothes felt sticky and uncomfortable. In the thick fog, countless red bright spots lit up silently, joining the blood-colored thick fog. At first glance, it looks like a colorful sea of blood sparkling with sparkling waves. An endless sea of blood. Sudden. Oda Mai raised her head. When Mani also raised her head. Looked to the sky. In the blood moon, a red figure, without knowing when, with the blood moon as its back, silently arrived above the village. It's the one in red. Li Changa was shocked and horrified. He suddenly recalled the fear that had penetrated his chest that night. Li Changa's memory of that heartbreaking pain was still as clear as if it happened not long ago. The fear of dying is not so easy to forget. Perhaps for a long time to come, Li Changa will recall the horror of dying whenever he sees red. Boom, boom, boom. The footsteps of the ghost tide gradually approached from the depths of the thick fog like a sea of blood. Boom, boom, boom. The ground is shaking. The ghost tide is coming. In all directions, there were those terrifying footsteps. Li Changa quickly added all the remaining temporary attributes to his strength. The strength attribute is high, and it is also more resistant to beatings. If you run, you will definitely not be able to escape. This is already the final scene of this plot mode. If they cannot kill the Ghost King tonight, even if they can escape from this village, they will have only one final fate. Obliterated. The word obliterate is unimaginable and unimaginable. Death can still make people imagine what kind of scene it will be like. But Li Changa could not imagine what obliteration was. Just from the words, Li Changa felt that life was like dust, pale and feeble being gently wiped away with a rag. In the face of that obliteration, life is so insignificant. No matter how handsome he, Li Changa, is, he still looks so insignificant. Correct. Li Changa looked at the figure in red approaching in the sky in horror, and quickly opened his address book. Brother, please don't cheat me. Li Changa thought silently in his heart. A thick stick poked out from the thick fog. Take a stick first. First, grab someone with a stick. When Li Changa saw the stick, he turned pale with fright. In an instant, a tragic special effect of endless falling trees rustling appeared behind him. A BGM called Liang Liang sounded around. Master Ghost Hunter. Bai Xiaoi smiled and walked out of the thick fog, holding up the stick. The red light flashed in those eyes, more vigorous than ever. Behind her, countless tall and ferocious ghost figures gradually emerged. Ghost General. And it's a big group. This level of difficulty is incredible. Li Chang'e almost cried deep in his heart. But my Oda had already flown up, with a cold look on her face, facing the red figure descending from the sky, and in the blink of an eye, she waved countless sword lights. Countless sword lights intertwined into one, becoming the most brilliant light in this bloody sky. Batajutsu, Shiger. A sneer appeared at the corner of Nai Hongzio's lips, and the silver thread on her head suddenly rose. Chi 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 chi. The soft silver thread instantly turned into a life-threatening silver needle. 1,000. 10,000. 100,000. Can't see clearly, countless. This is an overwhelming silver needle. Clang, clang, clang. The sky-wide sword light slashed by Otamai was all blocked by the countless silver threads. Blood moon. Red. White hair. Barefoot. Beauty. But, it kills. In an instant, dense blood holes appeared on Otamai's body. Blood stained her clothes again. Puff. A mouthful of blood spurted out of Otamai's mouth, and the injury that had not fully healed once again filled her face with a layer of gloom. Boom. The next second, Otamai fell heavily to the ground. Dusty. In the dust, Otamai climbed up again, with unwillingness in her eyes. Fight. At this time, he didn't bother to contact Yilin through his address book. I don't know where the kid died. Still not there by this time. Will the hero finally appear? Even though everyone is dead, you still act like a Mao hero. The mighty Tianlong. Li Chang'e was brewing emotions, the golden light behind him surged, and the shadow of the golden dragon, with a silent roar, rushed straight to Nai Hongzio in mid-air. Nini, cooperate with me. Come on. Good. When Manny responded sweetly, jumped up high, and raised the knife. The golden dragon's shadow passed in front of Nai Hongzio without any surprise, causing 0 damage. While when Manny took advantage of the special effects to attract the female ghost's attention, she struck Nai Hongzio's head with a sharp knife. Ding ding ding. The countless silver threads seemed to come alive, and part of them separated and stabbed Wen Manny in mid-air. The other side. Oda Wu wiped the blood from the corner of her mouth, stepped on the ground, and faced Nai Hongzio again. Never die, never stop. In the surrounding area, Bai Xiaoi has led a wave of ghosts to surround them. Out on a limb. There is no way out in the sky or on earth. Li Chang'e gritted his teeth and remembered something. There was no way he could deal with that one in the sky. He clenched the ghost-killing sword in his hand and thought. The black flame spread upwards and turned into a ghost-slaying sword. Bring it on. This time it's not just special effects. Li Chang'e jumped directly into the ghost wave. Sudden. A thick stick came from the blind spot of Li Chang'e's sight. In Li Chang'e's pupils, which were almost shrinking into needle points, they were getting bigger and bigger. Snapped. This time it's a straight face. Dash. Li Chang'e screamed and was directly photographed into the army of ghosts. Bai Xiaoi put away the stick, which was stained with blood. She shook it with a look of disgust, finally getting rid of the dirty blood on the stick. In mid-air, Nai Hongzio blocked Wen Manny and Otamai with just her hair. At this time, they all used the ghost-slaying sword that can only be unlocked after the ghost energy value reaches 50%, and its power is greatly increased. The knife with black flame attached to it can actually cut off a strand of silver hair every time it cuts. For a moment, the two of them joined forces and could barely block Nai Hongzio's silver hair. About there. When Manny suddenly lowered her head and murmured softly. When no one saw her, she suddenly licked her lips and showed a devilish smile. Please vote for recommendation. Infinity Throne. Author, Bai Yi Shueshi. Chapter 84. When Manny suddenly smiled. The long sleeve suddenly trembled. A subtle light suddenly shone from his sleeve. The light was very weak, but very cold. Hidden with terrible murderous intent. The light was almost indistinguishable in the dense fog. Extremely fast. The moment when Manny threw out the light from her sleeve, the light drew a half-arc in mid-air and silently circled behind Oda Mai. Oda Mai focused all her attention on resisting Nai Hongxiu's long hair. He didn't even notice when Manny's subtle little move. Call out. Suddenly, Oda Mai's pupils shrank, she twisted her body in mid-air, tilted the sword, and blocked it behind her. Clang. That is a delicate and compact silver knife. At the same time, Nai Hongxiu's long-haired offensive did not stop. When Oda Mai was distracted to block the silver knife from behind, countless silver long hair passed through Oda Mai's abdomen. Laugh. Blood spilled into the sky. When Manny sneered and flicked her wrist again, the silver knife that was blocked by Oda Mai turned back in mid-air and passed towards Oda Mai's neck again. At this moment, a broken knife flew out of the blood mist. Intercepted the silver knife in mid-air. Ding. With a crisp sound, the broken knife flew out from a distance. After colliding with the silver knife, it lost its strength and fell to the ground with a clang. But Mai Oda still fell from mid-air. There was a bloody hole in the abdomen. Blood spurts. Oda Mai fell to the ground with murderous intent in her eyes. This boundless murderous intention is not directed at Nai Hongxiu in the sky, but, when Manny. Oh. When Manny smiled slightly and flicked her wrist again. Only then did Oda Mai see clearly that there was even this thin thread on the silver knife that was almost imperceptible. The end of the thin line was connected to Wen Manny's wrist. It is precisely because of this thin line that the silver sword can change direction in mid-air, launching a terrifying offensive at impossible trajectories and angles. Call out. The silver knife flashed and returned to Wen Manny's hand again. Wen Manny put the sword back into the sheath on her waist with her other hand. She looked calmly towards the direction where the broken knife flew out. Sure enough, Pan Zhenji trotted out of the blood mist with a cheerful look on his face. He ran to Oda Mai, picked up the broken knife, and without even looking at Wen Manny, he breathed on the broken knife and wiped it on his clothes like a treasure. However, it was very difficult for Pan Zhenji, who had a broken arm. He could only hold the handle of the knife between his thighs, and with his remaining hand he picked up his clothes and wiped the broken knife. That action looked silly and out of breath. Wen Manny found that she couldn't see through Pan Zhenji again. Is it really crazy? Or being stupid? Pan Zhenji suddenly raised his head, looked at Wen Manny with disdain, and smiled coldly. Oh, woman. Wen Manny flicked her other wrist. Another silver knife slipped out from the cuff and was held in her hand. 2 silver knives, each connected with 2 lines. This is Wen Manny's real killing move. As for the ghost-killing sword, she put it back into its sheath. Anyway, it was assigned at the beginning of the mission, and she had trouble using it. Knife in the sleeve. Oda Mai turned pale and could no longer stand up. But she coldly said the name of Wen Manny's weapon. Why? Oda Mai said coldly. Wen Manny smiled sweetly, moved gently, stretched out her scarlet tongue, and licked the smooth blade. Suddenly, a ferocious smile appeared on the sweet face. Sister Oda Mai, do you need to say this? Whoever can kill the Ghost King will have a higher evaluation. For the sake of evaluation, anyone can do whatever it takes. He, as an apostle, don't you have this awareness? Wen Manny completely changed into a different face, which was extremely unfamiliar. Oh, right. Wen Manny took out a large handful of ghost chi pills from the storage space and swallowed them without changing her expression. Miso rub. In an instant, on the ghost aura list, her ghost aura value skyrocketed at a terrifying speed. Ha! Woman. Pan Zhenji glanced at Wen Manny again. Wen Manny casually added all the temporary attributes brought by the ghost energy value. Sister Oda Mai, if you weren't so powerful, I really wouldn't think of attacking you. After all, the threat from the two of you is too great. You know, I've really been under a lot of pressure recently. Look, there are a lot of acne. All around, there are countless ghosts coming. When Manny stood there, seemingly motionless. But in the next second, those ghost generals who were rushing towards him were all frozen in place. One more second. When Manny didn't make any move at the same spot. But there were drops of black blood on the silver knives in both hands, dripping down the tips and falling to the ground. But a second ago, there was clearly no blood on the two knives. Hiss. Countless cracks appeared on the ghost generals. Laugh. Black blood spurted out from those cracks in an instant. In the blink of an eye, all the ghost generals were cut into pieces at the same second. Otawu's pupils shrank slightly, and she almost didn't see clearly how when Manny took action. With just a thought, when Manny cleared a blank area of nearly 10 meters around her. Terrible speed. Pity. When Manny looked quite regretful, it's a pity that for some reason, the highest attribute can only be increased to 10, otherwise. Next, it's time to kill the monsters. After when Manny easily eliminated a group of ghost generals, her ghost energy level increased sharply. She took a quick look at the ghost chi list. Ghost list. Iron ghost energy value, 945/1000, 94.5%. When Manny ghost energy value, 940/1000, 94%. Oda my ghost energy value, 753/1000, 75.3%. Pengenji ghost energy value, 567/1000, 56.7%. Lichanga ghost energy value, 521/1000, 52.1%. It didn't matter if he didn't look at it, but when Manny was shocked when she saw it, and her legs tightened. That man, how could he be so scary? She had obviously killed the village chief without anyone noticing and secretly hid a large number of ghost energy pills. At this last moment, after taking all the ghost energy pills, she was still unable to surpass the one on the ghost energy list. Man. At this time, in mid-air, countless silver threads, with a captivating cold light, were directed towards Wen Manny. It seems that even Nai Hongxiu has concluded that Wen Manny is the most terrifying ghost hunter in this village at this moment. Snapped. A strange sound suddenly came from the direction of the village entrance. It sounded like something cracking. Nai Hongxiu and Bai Xiaoi trembled slightly, and involuntarily looked in the direction of the sound. Wen Manny hesitated for 2 seconds about her ranking on the ghost list. In the third second, after she easily blocked the sky full of silver threads, she finally let go. So what if I'm number 1 on the ghost list? Didn't this ghost king eventually die in the hands of me, Wen Manny? What's the use of getting so many points and getting such high attributes if you can't kill the boss? In the sky, the blood moon shines brightly. The boundless blood-colored brilliance fell down like a layer of gauze. Wen Manny shook her hands, and the knife in her sleeve slashed through the air, making a circle around Nai Hongxiu. She slowly squinted her eyes and used her upgraded ghost-killing technique to identify the location of Nai Hongxiu's will-o'-the-wisp. Wen Manny has increased her agility attribute to the extreme. 10 points. With her terrifying shooting speed and reaction speed, she still has plenty of time even if she changes the attack direction slowly after shooting. The agile side route is so willful. Sudden. Wen Manny's eyes widened. His hands froze. The 2 silver knives in the air lost Wen Manny's control and fell down helplessly. Snap. 2 silver knives fell not far away. But Wen Manny didn't bother to take the knife back. Dumbfounded. Fire, where's the fire? After a few seconds, Wen Manny looked in disbelief and stammered out a sentence. Hey, grandpas, where are your tickets? Infinity Throne. Author, Bai Yi Shueshi. Chapter 85. Wen Manny's ghost energy level has reached over 90%. 9 layers of buff were also added to the temporary attribute values. The agility attribute has been increased to 10 points. There is no way to add more. She originally heard that as long as the ghost energy value reached a certain level, abilities like the Ghost Slayer sword would appear, and the demon killing technique could be upgraded. At that time, she would be able to see through the weaknesses of the Ghost King. Why? I clearly heard. When Manny gritted her silver teeth so hard that blood even came out from between her teeth. Do you listen to me? Suddenly, there was a chuckle. A figure walked out of the bloody fog slowly. It's you. When Manny suddenly turned her head and looked at the figure walking out of the thick fog, with 2 twinges of hatred in her eyes like flames. How dare you lie to me? Yilin smiled slightly. Looking at Wen Manny, who was a little angry, she smiled with a hint of joking. For evaluation, anyone can do whatever it takes. As an apostle, don't you have this awareness? This is what Wen Manny said proudly to Oda Mai just now. The exact same words came out of Yilin's mouth at this moment, but they were full of sarcasm. Wen Manny's cute face turned red instantly. It was so red that it looked like it could bring out the eldest ant at any time. In the air, Nai Hongxiu's offensive continued. But Wen Manny didn't even look back. Just as her wrists shook, the 2 silver knives intertwined an airtight network of light behind her, blocking the countless silver hair. From the looks of it, it was effortless at all. Wen Manny has been hiding her strength. It was only now that her horror was fully revealed. Wen Manny was distracted while resisting Nai Hongxiu's attack, gritting her teeth and thinking about whether to kill this hateful man directly. Another ghost, Bai Xiaoai, who also had no weaknesses. The moment Yilin appeared, his originally smiling face was filled with fear and he kept backing away. 95.2%. When Manny suddenly smiled, her smile was sweet, and the killing intent in her eyes disappeared instantly. Brother Yilin, can we discuss it? Oh sure. Yilin looked at Wen Manny with interest. While Wen Manny was resisting Nai Hongxiu behind her, she didn't realize that Nai Hongxiu's cold and beautiful face had a hint of fear the moment Yilin appeared. Look, you and I are the only ones here fighting for the boss Ghost King. You tell me how to kill the Ghost King, and I will make it up to you afterwards, okay? After a pause, Wen Manny showed a hint of shyness on her face and lowered her voice, whatever you want, you can do it. Yilin smiled slightly and walked step by step to Pan Zhenji, who was still wiping his knife with his head down. Wen Manny. But she didn't stop Yilin's behavior. In her opinion, Yilin might have figured out how to kill the Ghost King. But now that Nai Hongxiu is guarded by her, it is absolutely impossible for Yilin to break through her own blockade and kill the Ghost King alone. In other words, she has an advantage. The situation is still under her control now. The only thing to think about now is how to extract the method of killing the Ghost King from this man's mouth. A trace of haze flashed across Wen Manny's beautiful almond eyes, which no one noticed. As long as you know how to kill the Ghost King. Everyone present. All must die. Even if Jesus comes, he can't save us. Wen Manny said it. The disputes between the apostles were so ruthless. In Wen Manny's opinion, it's incredible that a fool like Li Chang'e, who has nothing good except for being handsome, can survive to this day. 95.4%. Wen Manny was thinking about it, but she didn't dare to let down her guard against Yilin. But she has full confidence. With her current agility, she can react in time no matter what Yilin does. The agile side is so willful. It starts later and moves first. If you don't move, I won't move. If you move, I will move faster than you. I saw Yilin walking behind Pan Zhenji's head and pulling out the knife. When Manny's pupils shrank slightly, her wrist trembled, and she almost wanted to throw a knife away. But unexpectedly, Yilin used the handle of the knife to hit Pan Zhenji hard on the back of the head. Pan Zhenji rolled his eyes and fainted. Wen Manny. Unexpectedly, A few seconds later, Pan Zhenji, who was lying on the ground, suddenly opened his eyes and jumped up from the ground with a duan. Pan Zhenji touched the back of his head and saw blood on his hand. "Can't you be gentler?" Pan Xiaozhen glared at Yilin expressionlessly. Yilin chuckled, "Go to work. Don't forget what you promised me." Pan Xiaozhen murmured something in a low voice, then stood up directly. With a movement of his body, he bypassed Wen Mani in the center of the field and merged directly into the thick fog. Chi chi chi. Soon, the sound of Pan Zhenji fighting all the way came from the thick fog. "Want to leave?" Wen Mani was about to take action. It would be easy to kill Pan Zhenji. But at this moment, Yilin's next words made Wen Mani temporarily put aside her murderous intention towards Pan Zhenji. "I'll tell you how to kill Nai Hongxiu." Wen Mani was startled and immediately put on a sweet smile. "That's right, brother Yilin, as long as I kill the Ghost King, once the Ghost King is dead, all of us can pass the level. With your Ghost Aura ranking first, your evaluation will be good. It's not too bad, so it's a win-win. When you think about it, it makes sense." Yilin nodded with an expression that said, "That's how it should be." "Explain." Wen Mani's tone was a bit urgent and impatient. Yilin suddenly smiled, "Whatever you said, is okay." Wen Mani nodded wildly like a chicken pecking at rice, "Yeah, whatever you want." His eyes became colder and colder. What she didn't notice was that the attack from Nai Hongxiu overhead was getting weaker and weaker, to the point where it was almost non-lethal. Yilin smiled slightly, turned her palm over, and two black jade pieces appeared in her palm. One big, one small. The moment the two pieces of black jade appeared, Nai Hongxiu and Bai Xiaoai were shocked at the same time and completely froze. Wen Mani's expression froze instantly. Because in her eyes, with the blessing of the demon-killing technique, the two pieces of black jade were burning with blazing flames. It's clearly a will-o'-the-wisp. After being stunned for 3 seconds, Wen Mani finally woke up. No wonder those two ghosts have no weaknesses. It turns out it's not that the demon-killing technique level is not high enough. It's their weakness, it's not in the body at all. And, outside the body. Now, it's in Yilin's hands. Suddenly, Wen Mani remembered the scene where Pan Zhenji often squatted in front of that stone tablet. Then I remembered the secret theory of demon killing that Pan Zhenji had obtained inexplicably. Could it be that stone tablet? Wen Mani's tone trembled. "That's right." Yilin smiled and spread his hands. The two pieces of ghost jade reflected a bewitching and strange light under the bloody moonlight. "Give!" snapped. Wen Mani just had time to say a word. Then it stopped abruptly. Because the moment Wen Mani spoke, Yilin had already crushed two pieces of ghost jade without hesitation. At the moment when the ghost jade was crushed, a black energy surged out of Nai Hongxiu and Bai Xiaoai's eyes, ears, mouth, and nose. The next moment, cracks appeared on the skins of Nai Hongxiu and Bai Xiaoai. In the blink of an eye, the bodies of the two ghosts began to collapse from the cracks and disintegrated into countless fragments. Nai Hongxiu's beautiful face was full of cracks. She smiled coquettishly, with unparalleled elegance, and her red lips parted lightly. "Thank you, sir." Bai Xiaoai also stuck out her tongue playfully. "Thank you, Lord Ghost Hunter." After that, the two people completely disappeared in front of everyone. Wen Mani has stunned. Yilin patted the remaining ashes on her hands and smiled. "Look, it's actually that simple." 96.3%. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Infinity Throne. Author, Bai Yi Xueshi. Chapter 86. A good while. Only then did Wen Mani come back to her senses. She shook out 2 rounds of cold light with an expressionless face, and in an instant, the surrounding ghost wave was easily cut into pieces of flesh. She narrowed her eyes slightly and stared at Yulin, who was smiling slightly not far away, with cold murderous intent flashing in the gaps between her eyes. Suddenly, Wen Mani breathed a long sigh of relief, and the murderous intent in her eyes silently disappeared, as if it had never appeared before. The next second, Wen Mani smiled and said, "I thought you were only good at assassination, but I didn't expect that your brain is quite useful." "Thank you, I'm just a little smarter than you." Yilin's expression was calm and her tone was modest. "You win this time." Wen Mani's smile became thicker and brighter. "This time, both you and I will be evaluated at least a level or above. If there is a chance in the next trial, maybe we can join forces." Wen Mani's tone paused. She looked in the direction of Oda Mai in horror. In front of Oda Mai, there is a knife hanging. A silver knife. That's her secret weapon. Oda Mai also raised her head, her face pale, and she looked in surprise at the silver knife that was only 10 centimeters away from her but stopped inexplicably. How can it be? Wen Mani's delicate body trembled. Her agility had been increased to the extreme. Everyone present was not agility enhanced, so no one should be able to keep up with her speed. In theory, it should be so. She quietly swung the knife at Mai Oda, and she shouldn't have been stopped. And in such a weird way. Wen Mani shook her wrist vigorously, but found that the knife in the sleeve hanging above Oda Mai's head seemed to be tightly locked by an invisible iron hoop, and she could not move even an inch. "It's you." Wen Mani reacted. In this world, no one except Yilin can stop her. And with this weird ability. What kind of skill do you have? Wen Mani's face turned blue. She secretly tried her best, but the knife in her sleeve remained motionless. There was even a thin blood mark on her wrist from the silk thread, and drops of black blood were dripping silently along the silk thread. "This is not my skill. Why do you want to save her? You and she are neither relatives nor friends. You also know that once an apostle forms a grudge in the other world, it will end in death, otherwise there will be no peace in the real world." 98.4%. Yilin smiled slightly. "You are right." Wen Mani's wrist trembled slightly. "Let me kill her, and I will promise you any conditions." Yilin shook his head. "It's a pity that you have no chance." 99.0%. Wen Mani was startled. For some reason, seeing Yilin's slightly regretful expression, she suddenly had a bad feeling in her heart. "What's the meaning?" Wen Mani's eyes became bloodshot and red from unknown time. "Like, a ghost. Etc." Wen Mani was suddenly shocked. Only then did she realize something was wrong. The Ghost King is dead. The mission should be accomplished. But why haven't I received a notification that the task has been completed? Why are they still stuck in this other world? A breath of both coldness and heat came from the body. Wen Mani suddenly raised her head. In her eyes, the blood moon in the sky seemed vaster and more terrifying. She could even distinguish the craters on the bloody moon. It was like there were countless eyes staring coldly at her on the moon. It made her feel shuddering. Wen Mani suddenly had the illusion that she was locked by some kind of existence. 99.5%. Could it be? Wen Mani was horrified. She did not study the rules of the other world as thoroughly as the veteran Yilin, but after all, Wen Mani was not a newcomer. At this moment, a terrible guess suddenly appeared in her heart. "I'm afraid, Nai Hongxiu is not the Ghost King." Therefore, it can be explained why Wen Mani did not receive a notification that the task was completed after Yilin crushed Nai Hongxiu and Bai Xiaoai's ghost jade, nor was she teleported out of the world. Yilin smiled and said nothing. But he was counting silently in his heart. Yiren keeps stalling for time. Wait silently. He even asked Pan Zhenji to go over and help. 99.7%. When Wen Mani saw Yilin motionless and with a calm expression, the uneasiness in her heart became stronger and stronger. Deep in the blood mist. In the ghost tide. Pan Xiaozheng held a long knife and silently killed ghosts. Li Chang'e sat aside panting, looking at Pan Zhenji's expression with a strange expression. He always felt that something was different about this lunatic. Just now, Pan Zhenji suddenly rushed out of the fog, sprayed weak chicken directly at him, grabbed his knife and started to hunt ghosts with a hiss. His sword skills are sharp and his movements are flexible. He is like a new Pan Zhenji. Li Chang'e lowered his head and silently opened the ghost energy list. At the same time, Pan Zhenji cut off the head of a ghost again, and the weak point was just at the neck. On the ghost list, a certain number was finally fixed forever. Li Chang'e sighed softly, raised his head, and looked at the sky. That bloody bright moon. Another sigh. He remembered a message Yilin sent him in private not long ago. When Manny has a problem, if she wants to survive, she should find a way to exchange the knives between you two. This is where it all started. Life is like a play, it all depends on acting skills. I, Li Chang'e, am an actor. I, Li Chang'e, an international superstar. Although when Manny's acting skills are also good, it can be called the test of this scene, the movie queen. But the movie king vs the movie queen. It just depends on who can act better. After all, it's me alone, who has shouldered everything. Sudden. The blood-colored moonlight in the sky suddenly shrank. It gathered into a beam of light, like a spotlight, falling on Wen Manny's head. In an instant, Wen Manny seemed to have become the only protagonist in this world. The rays of light gathered together, attracting everyone's attention. Wen Manny was completely stunned. She suddenly panicked. How is this going? She found that the development of things was completely beyond her expectation. Now that things have come to this, Yilin is finally relieved. Fortunately, the subsequent 9 plans were not used. It was considered smooth. Thinking of this, Yilin smiled slightly and finally explained, "Don't you think it's strange from the beginning? Why is there an upper limit for the ghost list that should be a reward? Isn't it to prevent us from losing points?" Haha, Yilin chuckled, "To prevent excessive points gain, a lock is enough." When Manny's pupils shrank suddenly, lock. In the shocked eyes of Wen Manny and Oda Wu, Yilin slowly left the ground in a human body and floated into the air. There was clearly no support beneath his feet. But he stood out of thin air, with his feet on the void. Being born as a human, the 3 basic attributes of strength, agility, and spirit all have limits. These are also the limits of human beings. This limit is also called a lock. Only by breaking through this level of limitation can we surpass the limits of human beings, improve our level, and achieve extraordinary things. When Manny looked shocked and was speechless. She didn't know this information at all. Therefore, the upper limit of the ghost energy list seems a bit redundant, and it is specially used as a percentage to remind us. And don't you think it's too easy to get this ghostly energy? It's like they're tempting us to use ghost energy everywhere. This reminds me of a possibility. Yilin smiled slightly. Could it be that once the ghost energy value reaches 100%, something terrible and irreversible will happen? For example, he spiraled up to heaven and became the king of ghosts. Hear the words. When Manny's hands and feet instantly became cold. Like falling into an ice cellar. How can it be? Looking at Yilin suspended in the void, Wen Manny shouted, "How could such a thing happen? I am an apostle. I am not a boss. I am an apostle." However, the voice was a bit more hoarse and hysterical than human beings. "Wait, are you bluffing me? My ghost energy is only..." When Manny's heart was agitated, and she could no longer maintain her initial calmness. She subconsciously opened the ghost chi list. Cast your vote. You are all the most handsome guys in the night. Infinity Throne. Author, Bai Yi Xueshi. Chapter 87. Release time, July 24th, Friday, 12 o'clock noon. This is, quite sudden. I guess all the gentlemen who are sitting in front of the computer or using their mobile phones to wait for updates, when they see this thing, their expressions are probably shock. That's it? That's it? That's it? Damn it? Damn it? Damn it? The current time is 2020-07-23, 3:08. With mixed feelings, I typed this text in advance. 1 minute ago, I just finished writing 16,000 words for today, or was it yesterday? The night is so beautiful, even though it is so dangerous, there are always people staying up all night with dark eyes. First, my wife is in good health. All the best to you readers, and all your attributes are off the charts. Next, let's get down to business. Let me talk about myself first. It is estimated that as long as students have a decent reading comprehension, they should be able to understand the 4 words remarks on the launch. The emphasis is on feeling and wording is just a method. In fact, when I think back on it, I find it hard to describe my life over the past 30 years. In the 5th grade of primary school, he was tricked into attending a civil and military school in another province and became a bald monk for 6 years. I read novels in high school for 3 years and was barely in the top 50 of my grade. Before the college entrance examination, I stayed up all night playing Fantasy Westward Journey. Well, the result is hard to describe. I started reading novels in junior high school, and continued in high school and college. At that time, I was reading the serialization of Legends of Modern and Ancient Times, as well as various YY articles that were popular at the time. I feel that the one that has had the biggest impact on me is Zeus Yen. Stimulated by the ending of Zeus Yen, I started writing my own novel in my sophomore year and wrote over 4 million words. 2 female protagonists died. This is quite tragic. Later, and later, I no longer dared to write like this. Graduation, exams, work, certification, work, night shift, rescue, marriage, childbirth. Suddenly looking back, I realized that these past 7 years have been completely occupied by an inexplicable life. Work and life seem to be everything in life. One day I suddenly remembered what kind of life I wanted. Perhaps this is a process that every man who reaches the age of 30 must go through. Re-examine your life. I went out to smoke a cigarette first. It seemed like the knock was a little heavy. 2020-07-23, 3:24. Okay, keep talking. Let's talk about something lighter next. Let's talk about this book. Anyway, after a period of inner struggle, I came back to write a book, a new pink novel. Although it may not be very pink, it is definitely tender. I remember when I first came back, I mentioned this to an old reader I had known for nearly 10 years, that is, Bayazai in the fan list. His first sentence was, "Everyone is busy with work now, so let's write something more relaxed. We are all tired from work, and we are even more tired from watching something too heavy." I said, okay. As you all know, like Elin, I am a bad namer. The title of the book, I really can't choose it. In 2011, there were titles like XX Breaking the Sky, XX Emperor, XX God, and XX Demon. When I came back and saw it, I was dumbfounded and confused. What the hell is this? Could it be a trend? Then, there was the book I Really Don't Want to Become a Natural Disaster. The title of the book looks like a white text, but in fact it is not the same thing. Forgive me, I really don't know how to name the book now. As we all know, this book is off to a hellish start. Some readers said that there was little promotion for this book. Indeed, it was only promoted on 2 category web pages, and then, nothing more. It's time to go on sale now. But I didn't say anything, and I didn't want to say anything, so I just wrote. When I mentioned it to my wife that day, she saw it in her eyes. I was really envious of her real name. She smashed the silver and it was announced all over the server. She asked me if this was useful, and I said I wasn't sure, maybe. Then we talked about the cost, and she said, I'll give it to you. The most I can thank you for is half a month's salary. Right? You read that right? In the end, it was all on my forehead. But that's not important. Long live my wife. Sincere face. So I met you. That is you who are reading this speech. I had almost no living readers before the silver-colored cuteness of the Empress came down. Of course there are only a few. What brought us together? Fate. Past and present life? Is it still Bruce Wayne's money-making ability? No. This is love, broken sound. Ahem, in short, gradually, there are more readers, and I have you. Seems a bit pretentious? But in fact, this is indeed my truest thought. What does an author who truly writes a book fear most? Not subscribed? Don't have a collection? No tickets? Of course, I must be afraid of these. But what I'm most afraid of is, the single player. Lonely. Lonely. And, cold. The cool air conditioner is blowing on my back, but there are no readers to complain, and there are no cute fans to care, ahem. I began to be like before, with someone listening to my thoughts, reading my words, and capturing my youth in the words. In fact, many of the above words have been brewing in my mind for more than a month, starting from the beginning of the book, because I knew that such a day would come. But there are thousands of words to write about, but some of them seem to be unclear as to what to write. In short, as for feeling, that's about it. Let's talk about this book next. Let's complain first. Some people may find that some routines are a bit old. But it's not actually an old routine. But I am really old. I haven't read many novels in the past few years. I remember the last few I read. Hell Apartment by Master Fire, Horror Broadcast by Master Feelong, and Zombie Girlfriend by Aunt Lychee. Oh yes, there is also Thriller Paradise by Sanja. As for the Dolugo God Tomb, they were from earlier, so there is no need to say more. Quietly beep, if I say here that I grew up reading their books, will I be beaten to death? In short, if you think the routine is old, that's because, maybe I haven't seen it, or maybe I've forgotten, and I don't know if the routine is old or not. Regarding the protagonist's subsequent treatment of the murder, I originally wanted to write a dark and perfect crime. After all, as we all know, the best way to hide a body is in a mountain of corpses. If you kill a group of people, there will be no way to investigate. But, people are writing, and God is watching. Writing like this will make you cool. 404 crazy warning. Perfect crime cannot be promoted. Isn't it possible to find the murderer next door to Conan? No doubt. Therefore, there is this treatment. This book is actually two lines, the real world and the virtual world, which can be regarded as an infinite flow of variants. I feel that only this way of writing can carry my imagination. I believe that when many people read the copy of Gewushan, they will also find that there are many reversals and foreshadowings. I have laid 45 foreshadowings and 23 reversals. You may think I'm talking nonsense, but you have no evidence. I am destined not to be able to write novice novels. So, I decided to use another way to give you pleasure. Find foreshadowing. Sometimes it's just a word, a look, a tone, an action. It's like the first line in One Piece, I've hidden all the wealth in the world there, go find it. One should. Well, that's probably the case, go find the foreshadowing. I'm serious, just take it seriously. It seems that I have written more than 2,000 words casually, let's talk a few more words. It's almost 4 o'clock and it's time to go to bed. In short, This book is not a tragedy. I am just a person who silently writes books, silently digs holes, silently fills holes, silently tells stories, and silently develops my imagination. The book is very pure. If you think there is a place to drive, it must be because your driving skills are too good. You have passed the kindergarten and rushed to Chiu Ming Shan, it has nothing to do with the author. Disclaimer. Next, highlight the key points. Knock on the blackboard, students. 1. The purpose of this book, I just want to write a story about struggle, helplessness, survival, and seeking the origin. You may be able to understand this sentence if you look back later. 2. There are many characters in this book. Some of you may like it, and some may not. Very normal. This is not a trivial novel, and not every woman who appears is hanging on the 5 legs of the protagonist. For now, this book is about the first female, Ling Yi. Second female, Molly. The other female characters who appear are currently not the hero's cup of tea. This is a world, not a world that revolves around the protagonist. Don't think that just because a female character is created, it is just for the protagonist. I really can't write this kind of thing. Only countless characters can form a complete world. Third, it's still about character. What I want to describe more is a change. A change in each person's personality after experiencing many things. Just to give a few examples, you think Gu Xinan is annoying, but if one day, she turns into a domineering policewoman in front of others and a charming little daughter-in-law in the back, wouldn't you find it interesting? Or, isn't it interesting that Molly, a research genius with high IQ and low EQ, will one day put on a battle armor, step on a sword, and pierce a strange situation with one kick? Hamster armor. Or, wouldn't it be interesting when Su Xiong, who thinks about retirement every day, has no choice but to transform into a green-skinned upper body and charge into battle as a berserker shouting "Yaa" after everything he has gone through? I'm not spoiling it, I'm just making an analogy, and it may not develop like this. For in short, I just want to write some content that you will find interesting. For me, the biggest compliment is not that it's so cool. It's so exciting. The pig's feet are awesome. But you suddenly came over to me and said, "What the hell? Can you still write like this?" I will definitely smile knowingly in front of the computer. Next up. The most important point. The blackboard was smashed. After chatting for 3,000 words, it's finally time for the happy ending. I want sell awful. Got it? It seems, it doesn't sell very well. It's known to everyone that it's miserable. You also know that if it doesn't sell, it's just that no one wants it, and the editor doesn't like it either. What can this do? Well, in accordance with international practice, I would like to thank the editor-in-chief Lan Guangguang for giving me this opportunity. As for the others, I don't know them either, so I don't know who to thank. In fact, Brother Guang has a saying that is very right and I agree with it very much. He said, the only thing that can retain readers is content. Right? I agree. Therefore, I will work hard to get back into shape faster, adapt to the current era, and give you content that you are unexpected but enjoy. Let's talk about the updates you are concerned about. I hate it. I look at you every day and say that's it. KDG short and weak, doesn't my heart hurt? I don't want to either. Who told me to rush to the street? Who asked me to write niche articles? It's an article that you need to use your brain to read. Many people think that they have to waste their brains to see it. I am also very helpless. Ahem, past. After it is put on the shelves, the chapters are all large chapters of about 5,300 words, updated twice a day, with more than 10,000 words. I will never give you another chance to say you are short and weak, not even when Jesus comes, I say it. I'll update it for a month first, and then get two 10,000 day badges to fill up the appearance of this book. In other words, starting at 12 o'clock noon on July 24th, in 30 days, which is 1 month after it was put on the shelves, about 32,000 words will be updated. Applause is due here. Super key point 1. Rules for adding updates. There are more than 20,000 collections on the shelves. I am humbler. The collection ratio is 20:1? Or even lower, the first order starts at 1000, and for each additional 500, add a chapter, a 5,000 word chapter without water, and for each leader, you have to have a dream, what if it really happens? Then add a chapter. As for Shirogane Mo, just in case it happens, I dare to owe you 10 chapters, 5W words, I said so. It is better to die suddenly from exhaustion than to rush into the street. Monthly tickets, let's talk about it. I can't ask for it. Because the first month has already been full of updates, I would be very happy if I really have the opportunity to pay what I owe. I will remember it in a small notebook and will definitely make up for it in the future. No less. Book quickly. Super key point 2. Release time, July 24th, Friday, at 12 noon. There may be system delays. Please make your first order. First VIP chapter subscription. Please make your first order. First VIP chapter subscription. Please make your first order. First VIP chapter subscription. Even if you are just raising books, please give me an automatic subscription. Because I don't have a subscription, this book is completely useless. To be honest, I was mentally prepared for the worst. Even if there are only about 500 orders per order, as long as I have you, I can write with peace of mind. As long as I can still have you. Time, 2020-07-23, 4:05. Finish writing this 4,000-word speech. The hand speed he has honed in writing medical records, and the unique skills he has honed over many years of being single, are not in vain. I'm too lazy to change it, so I'll leave it as it is. Thank you all. At last. Requesting first order, broken sound. Requesting first order, broken sound. Requesting first order, broken sound. Release time, July 24th, Friday, at 12 noon. Infinity Throne author, by Yi Shueshi. Chapter 88. This sight made Wen Mani turn pale with fright. Ghost value. 100%. At what time? Are you weird? Yilin smiled slightly. Wen Mani raised her head. One in the sky. One on the ground. Yiren was condescending. As if in control of everything. Yilin's next words completely shattered Wen Mani's last bit of luck. There is a sentence in the very first plot hint. Wearing their own ghost-slaying swords, they killed the ghosts and brought a glimmer of light to Ghost Mountain. In other words, every ghost hunter has his own blade. The calculation of ghost energy value in this plot mode is not about who killed the ghost, but whose sword killed the ghost. Wen Mani was shocked all over. She understood completely. In the dim woods. It's him. Breaking sound. Li Changa. It was Li Changa who quietly changed her knife. That scumbag was acting the whole time. Scumbag. Scumbag. Scum. It's time. Under Wen Mani's shocked eyes, Yilin looked calm and took out a wooden box full of cracks from the storage space. Yilin's eyes narrowed and her expression was serious. He carefully opened the wooden box. In the wooden box, lying quietly. Human skin. A piece of human skin with clear texture. The moment the wooden box was opened, a black energy full of evil suddenly emitted from the wooden box, sweeping in with Yilin as the center. In an instant, the wooden box in Yilin's hand seemed to turn into the legendary Pandora's box, exuding endless evil thoughts. This ghostly foggy mountain. In fact, it is a cursed place where ghosts are raised. Ghosts eat people, people eat ghosts, and people turn into ghosts. Giwu Mountain is like a completely sealed voodoo. Most of the ghost energy will gradually converge on one of the creatures in the process of constant fighting and devouring. This process is like the legendary cultivation of goo. All the creatures in Giwu Mountain are like various poisonous insects in a voodoo pot. This creature can be a human, a ghost, or a ghost hunter. Former ghost hunters, Nai Hungziu and Bai Xiaoi, eventually turned into ghosts. The legendary ghost hunter Naishiu hunted countless ghosts and eventually became a ghost. But none of them can become the Ghost King. If you want to be promoted to the only Ghost King, you can only do so on this day. At the junction of yin and yang, when the blood moon comes, the person with the strongest ghost energy can become the Ghost King. Naishiu spent many years killing countless people and ghosts, and finally understood everything and planned everything. If Yilin guessed correctly, what was buried under the tombstones on the top of Giwu Mountain should be parts of Nai Hungziu and Bai Xiaoi's bodies, suppressed on the top of Giwu Mountain by some kind of religious ceremony. I don't know where Naishiu learned the secret technique. But how to operate in the end, Naishiu is dead, this may become a secret that can never be solved. But generally, it should be similar to what Yilin had guessed. The reason why you haven't become the Ghost King is because you haven't met the person who gave you a piece of human skin yet. Yilin smiled slightly and thought. In the wooden box, the piece of human skin flew toward Wenmani like lightning. No. Wenmani let out a shrill scream and turned around to leave regardless of everything. Go, go, go. She has completely believed what Yilin said. Because she had already faintly noticed that something was wrong. As Yilin said, this plot mode is full of weirdness. But under the temptation of plot evaluation, Wenmani inadvertently ignored all the incongruities. The wages of avarice is death. Apostle, not to mention. Wenmani's current agility attribute, with the addition of ghost energy, has reached the limit that humans can achieve. As Yilin said, if the agility lock cannot be broken, the agility attribute can only be increased to 10 points, and cannot be increased by even 0.1. But the limits of human beings are also extremely terrifying. Just as when Manny turned around, she actually crossed nearly 100 meters in one step, so fast that she left a series of afterimages behind her. The body is in front of the shadow, and the shadow is behind. Even with vision, Yilin could not capture Wenmani's speed. This shows how terrifying the limit of agility is. But the piece of human skin that flew out was like a gangrene attached to the bone, following Wenmani closely. Faster than Wenmani. In the blink of an eye, that strange piece of human skin suddenly covered Wenmani's face. The bloody moonlight in the sky, like a spotlight, followed suit and caught up with Wenmani. Shrouded down. There is no doubt that Wenmani has now become the protagonist of this ghostly mist mountain. She is, the Ghost King who is about to be born. Yilin glanced at Oda Mai and saw that she would not die for the time being, so she ignored her. He immediately jumped into the air and chased the bloody spotlight. Under the moonlight, Wenmani was seen covering her head in pain. That piece of human skin has disappeared. But Wenmani's skin gradually turned blue and purple, and there seemed to be countless insects squirming under her skin, with blue veins popping out, making her look extremely penetrating. Wenmani suddenly raised her head. Look up to the sky and scream. In an instant, with Wenmani as the center, a fierce wind suddenly dispersed in all directions. The thick blood mist was torn apart instantly. With Wenmani as the center, the field of vision is clearly visible. The bunch of bloody moonlight was slowly gathering. From 1 meter in diameter to half a meter in diameter. Finally, it gathered into a small beam of light and landed on Wenmani's head. Wenmani suddenly raised her head. Those eyes turned completely blood red. She opened her mouth and 2 slender fangs protruded from her upper and lower jaws. Wenmani, oh no, From now on, she should be called the Ghost King. Laugh. The last beam of moonlight completely shattered and dissipated into the night sky. The blood moon in the sky has become the same as usual. When Manny stared at Yulin in mid-air, his eyes were filled with hatred. She can no longer open the apostle panel. Just after she successfully mutated, she only received a reminder that for some special reason, she was stripped of her identity as an apostle. In other words, even if she can kill everyone in the end and survive, she can't leave here again. There is no way to return to the real world. She will be completely bound by this mountain for the rest of her life. This place has completely become a prison from which she cannot escape. The only thing Ghost King Wen Mani wants now is to kill Yilin. She was filled with hatred. The boundless resentment, as vast as the sea, completely submerged her reason. Hate, hate, hate. Kill, kill, kill. She will use the most cruel method to kill everyone who is still alive in this ghostly mist mountain. Use the most cruel methods to kill him to death. When Mani roared, the flesh and blood of her arms squirmed, and countless tentacles actually wrapped the knife in her sleeve. In the blink of an eye, her original weapons, the two knives in her sleeves, were swallowed into her flesh and blood by Wen Mani and merged into one body. The two knives also became extensions of her arms, becoming the tentacles of the Ghost King. Not enough. Not enough. Not enough. Wen Mani was also in a state of shock at this time. The hatred and resentment in her heart made her desperate. Her two extended tentacles suddenly penetrated into the ground. Chi chi chi. From other places in the fog forest, the ground cracked, and countless tentacles appeared out of thin air, enveloping all the ghost tides in the entire fog forest. Li Chang'e, who was feeling sad alone in the foggy forest, was stunned when he saw this scene. Run. Li Chang'e directly pulled Panzhenji, dodging the tentacles that emerged from the ground, and ran in the direction of Yilin with all his strength. He swore. This was the fastest he had ever run in his life. None of them. Yilin's eyes narrowed. This is. Is she devouring the entire Ghost Mist Mountain ghost? Are you crazy? Right. Yilin sympathizes deeply. When Mani became the king of ghosts. In other words, she changed from an apostle to the final boss in this trial world. What she is doing now is just what every final boss should and must do. That is, eliminate all players who come in to play dungeons. Looking down from Yilin's perspective, the entire mountain was filled with countless ferocious and wriggling tentacles. In the ruins of the village, the ground was already a mess. The broken earth cracked open one after another, and each tentacle seemed to be alive, regardless of humans and ghosts, crazily devouring all life. After Oda Mai fell to the ground and gasped for air, she recovered some strength, stood up again, and waved the sword in her hand. Wherever the light of the sword struck, her tentacles flew everywhere. Although Oda Mai looked a little embarrassed, for a while, those tentacles could not kill her. The tentacles that had swallowed up the flesh and blood of countless ghosts were like blood vessels, transporting nutrients to Wen Mani in the center. Everything happened in a flash of lightning. Yilin knew that Wen Mani could not be allowed to continue to grow. It's time to end this. He would not just watch Wen Mani develop to full level. From now on, let the world. Yilin was about to use disaster haunting to interrupt Wen Mani's movements. Wen Mani has long since lost her human form, and her former delicate appearance is no longer visible. All over her body was squirming green and black flesh, which looked like horrible sarcomas. It was extremely horrifying. She suddenly smiled coldly, and her voice sounded like it came from the underworld. Do you think your control skills are effective on me? In order to deal with you, I have already maximized my will attribute and my resistance is fully stacked. Your control skills have no effect on me. Everyone here must die. Die, die. Even if I can't run away, you all will stay with me. When Manny roared crazily while speeding up the devouring of flesh and blood. The originally petite body gradually expanded at a speed visible to the naked eye. In just a few seconds, Wen Manny in human form turned into a terrifying mountain of flesh. Countless tentacles stretched out from the meat mountain and whipped them at will, causing a deep crack to open in the ground. Boom boom boom. Tentacles flew. Yilin stopped singing. Heh, thanks for reminding me. Yilin quickly entered the next set of procedures. Plan A B C D E and follow the plan. Yilin held the knife in her left hand and slowly raised her right hand. Rumble, rumble. The earth. It's shaking. Wen Manny was shocked. The village, the woods, and the ground suddenly collapsed with the rumbling sound. The ground cracked and turned into small floating islands, floating behind Yilin. The villagers' houses also turned into ruins, reorganized into countless rubbles, floating behind Yilin. Yilin's face turned pale, and no one noticed that her whole body was trembling slightly after Yilin made such an action. Dense beads of sweat broke out on his forehead. When Manny looked at the scene in front of her in horror. Damn it! What is this? Who is the boss? Go. Yilin pointed her finger, and floating islands, villages, dead trees, and all the entities floating behind Yilin suddenly pressed down on Wen Manny from all directions with incredible power. Suppression. Impossible. Wen Manny only had time to let out a scream, and in the blink of an eye she was drowned in countless heavy objects. Boom 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 boom. Pan Xiaozheng, Li Chang'e, and Oda Wu stopped moving at the same time. They all looked at the man floating in the sky who looked like a god and demon with a surprised look. This kind of behavior can no longer be called human. Is this guy cheating? In the blink of an eye, Wen Manny's body after devouring all her flesh and blood was buried under countless dust and gravel and turned into a hill. Seeing this, Li Chang'e was stunned. Pan Xiaozheng's eyes flickered, and he didn't know what he was thinking. But my Oda sat softly on the ground. She was unable to swing even one more sword. Ghost King Wen Manny's voice was completely drowned out. All tentacles on the earth also stopped moving. Yilin's mind was already filled with tingling pain. The psychic energy is being consumed violently. But it doesn't matter, the overall situation has been decided. In Yilin's eyes, with the addition of ghost-killing skills, Wen Manny's will-o'-the-wisp was like a firefly in the dark night, or like an ever-bright lamp in a sea of suffering, shining dazzlingly. More dazzling than any ghost's will-o'-the-wisp. It's so dazzling, if I don't kill you, who will I kill? No. With a bang, Wen Manny suddenly broke free from the shackles of the hill and broke out of the ground. Her body was covered with scars of various sizes, and black blood was flowing freely. She stared in disbelief at the figure floating in the sky. Roared unwillingly. The entire Giwu mountain was deafening. Impossible. You are cheating. How can you do this to the limit of your mental power? Wen Manny didn't believe it. I won't believe it even to death. She could guess that Yilin was mentally strengthened. But Yilin himself also said that whether it is strength, agility, or spirit, there are human limits. As long as we are human, we cannot break through this limit. Unless. Cheating. Yilin repeated in a low voice. No comment on this. He is very clear about his current attributes. Psychic energy value 560, add 900. Spirit 5.6, add 9.0. In fact, Yilin's mental attributes had already exceeded the limit when the ghost energy value exceeded 60%. Perhaps it was because he had exceeded his limits in his previous life, so all this happened naturally. Yilin couldn't even feel the existence of the lock. He also regained control of the power of thought. Cheating. Just take it as such. Who can't make a fool of himself? Yilin smiled slightly. No answer. Instead, he said, have you ever seen a sword technique falling from the sky? Wen Manny was startled. Call out. A flash of dark red light, burning with black flames, fell from the sky. From the beginning, Yulin separated out the tentacles of telekinesis and suspended blood jasmine high in the sky. The seemingly intimidating dust in the sky and the overwhelming mountains are just to restrict Wen Mani's movements. After all, the psychic value is not much, so control it first and then attack. This combination of punches is the safest. Wen Mani didn't react at all, and was struck from the head by the ghost-killing knife with ghost energy, accurately hitting the will-o'-the-wisp in her body. Snapped. This knife completely shattered the ghost jade hidden in Wen Mani's body. Wen Mani's terrifyingly strong will-o'-the-wisp was extinguished instantly. Congratulations to Apostle 1010 for successfully killing the Ghost King. Get chaos value add 650. Main mission, kill the Ghost King mission completed. It is finally over. The fog dissipated. The wind is clear and the moon is bright. It is finally over. Yulin slowly fell to the ground from the air. Looked up. Looking at the bright moon in the sky. The thick fog that has shrouded Kiwu Mountain for the past 10 years has completely disappeared at this moment. It's like it never happened. Push away the clouds and mist and finally see the blue sky. Sudden. Right now. In Wen Mani's gradually disintegrating huge body, a small piece of human skin peeled off silently. And flew towards Yulin. Snapped. Yulin's face changed slightly. That weird piece of human skin actually broke through Yulin's psychokinetic shield. He slapped Yulin on the face in one fell swoop. Right now. A line of text appeared in front of Yulin's eyes. Obtain the parasitic growth equipment grudge. That piece of human skin. It's still equipment? And is it the most special and rare parasitic growth type among all types of equipment? As we all know, equipment is divided into 6 levels: rough, common, rare, epic, and legendary. Outside of these 6 levels, there is a kind of equipment called special type. There are many types of special types, which do not fall into the 6 major grades. Some of these special equipment are useless, some have rubbish attributes, but some are more terrifying than legendary equipment. It is both a parasitic type and a growth equipment. Yulin was a little surprised. After the piece of human skin was put on Yulin's face, Yulin felt a cool and refreshing feeling on her face, and then she couldn't feel anything anymore. Yulin touched her face, and the feeling was no different from before. Well, it seemed to be a bit out of place again. At this time, after Yulin obtained grudge, Li Chang'e and Pan Zhenji ran over. Pan Zhenji followed Li Chang'e with a silly smile on his face. Bah! Scumbag! Suddenly, Pan Zhenji spat at Li Chang'e's back. Baffling. Li Chang'e, who was surviving the disaster, simply ignored Pan Zhenji's flirtatious remarks and ran to Yulin in 2 steps. His face was calm and calm. The hairstyle is not messy. His eyes were sharp. Suddenly, Li Chang'e hugged Yulin's thigh. Boss! Do you still need a leg pendant? From now on, my little brother will follow you. Roll. Yulin did not hesitate to use her last spiritual energy to activate her psychic power and condense it into an invisible slap, slapping Li Chang'e away. Oda Mai also struggled to stand up. She was severely injured, but it was already extremely difficult for her to be able to stand up. When she saw Yulin looking over, she just nodded slightly and didn't say much. Next moment, everything was silent. This world suddenly came to a standstill. The 4 apostles who are still alive have become the only living beings in this world. Li Chang'e got up from the ground in disgrace and did not continue to mess around. He sat on the ground and waited for the settlement. Customs clearance evaluation is being calculated. Evaluation, SSS. As expected by Yulin, it was rated SSS. In this trial, Yulin achieved the ultimate. Kill Naishiu. Discovered the plot. Obtained the root of the ghost breeding ground in Kiwu Mountain, grudge. He saved Nai Hongxiu and Bai Xiaoi. Killed the Ghost King with his own hands. Killed countless monsters. After achieving this level, it would really be unreasonable if it still cannot obtain an SSS level evaluation. Yilin was quite satisfied with this ending. Customs clearance and settlement are still continuing. Total attribute value reward add 1.5. Distributed based on Apostle 1010 trial performance. Strength add 0.4, agility add 0.6, spirit add 0.8, will add 0.2, luck minus 0.3, charm minus 0.2. The total attribute distribution of 1.5 is quite generous. The spirit increased by 0.8 in one breath, which was simply unprecedented. It seems that Tower gave a very high evaluation to his performance in fighting wits in the level. Furthermore, in the trial, Yilin's method of hunting ghosts was mainly assassination, so he also received a lot of deflection in terms of agility bonus. As for charm and luck, Yilin's face was expressionless. If this continues, it seems that the existence of handsomeness and European emperor will gradually drift away. It was difficult for Yilin to predict what would happen if his charm and luck attributes continued to decline like this. Forget it, ignore it for now. The death point reward is being settled. Difficulty bonus, none. Evaluation bonus, 50%. Acquire death points, 1,500. Now draw random rewards. It's on the shelves. It's on the shelves. Please make your first order. Broken Sound, you are the most handsome and smartest. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Infinity Throne. Author, Bai Yi Xueshi. Chapter 89. It's a pity that Wen Mani was deprived of her apostle status before her death and became the world boss. Otherwise, after Yilin killed Wen Mani, she could still touch Wen Mani's box. Yilin smiled. Wait quietly for the next random reward. Get the prop specialty ghost oil. Acquire the skill Run Fast. That's it? The corners of Yilin's mouth twitched slightly. Without looking carefully, Yilin could probably guess what these props and skills were. It's really speechless. Just when Yilin thought the random reward draw was over, a line of text appeared in front of me again. Yilin instantly became energetic. Because Apostle 1010 completed the hidden plot branch, the long-cherished wish of the legendary ghost hunter, preventing Naishiu's daughter Nai Hongxiu and Naishiu's disciple Bai Xiaoi from becoming the tragic fate of ghost kings, successfully cracked Naishiu's 10-year plan, and saved Nai Hongxiu and Bai Xiaoi, obtained the spirit card red and white. Attached spirit card. It turned out to be a spirit card. Level improvement. Congratulations to the First Order Apostle for arriving on the 8th floor of the Tower of Death. Current level, LV8. It has been detected that Apostle 1010's body is damaged. Do you want to consume death points to repair the body? Yes/no? Yes. Yilin didn't hesitate. After all, consumption of 450 death points. Under repair. Repair completed. Return. Now. No one saw it? At the top of Giwu Mountain. The moonlight falls. In the sea of red flowers on the other side, a small blue flower grew. Real world. Xiao family. Doors and windows were locked. No one can fly without wings. Zhenqiang stood there shaking his legs. Eyes closed. Counting silently in my mind. 10, 9, 8, 7. 1 minute, in the blink of an eye. No matter what the apostles experienced in the other world, it was only an insignificant minute in the real world. Coming. Zhenqiang suddenly opened his eyes. The moment he opened his eyes, he activated the skill without hesitation. Skin hardening. Even if that kid is lucky enough to come back from the other world, he won't be able to walk out of the Xiao family alive. Zhenqiang has this kind of confidence. In his opinion, the gap between him and Yilin cannot be bridged by a single trial in the other world. If the gap between apostles can be bridged so easily, then what's the point of having levels? Are you making trouble? Just a new apostle. He is a second-level apostle up to LV11. Zhenqiang smiled coldly, and his skin was covered with a metallic color. Sure enough, after Zhenqiang's countdown ended, where Yilin disappeared, Yilin's figure suddenly appeared. Zhenqiang was about to say a harsh word before killing Yilin. To relieve the hatred in my heart. After all, this boy actually made him wait for a full minute. As soon as Yilin's figure appeared, she said something expressionlessly. Let the world feel the pain from this moment on. Speaks extremely fast. It was so fast that Zhenqiang didn't have time to hear clearly. Zhenqiang was suddenly stunned. How come it was you who said the harsh words first? After Yilin finished speaking, Zhenqiang's vision went dark and he lost consciousness completely. When Zhenqiang regained consciousness again, then he saw Yilin holding a small bottle in his hand and staring at him with a smile. He was about to punch him. But he was shocked to find that his limbs were limp and without any strength. The health value dropped rapidly. Then, a sharp pain came from his neck. Zhenqiang subconsciously touched his neck, spread his hands and took a look. It was all bright red blood. 80%. 70%. The carotid artery was severed. Zhenqiang's heart was shocked and he tightly pressed the severed carotid artery. The rate at which health points decrease is slightly slower. How can it be? Zhenqiang couldn't understand it at all. He was already prepared for Yilin's control skills. He has even activated the defensive skill skin hardening in advance. There was no way that kid could break through his defense. How can it be? Impossible. Zhenqiang shouted angrily. But he found that all he said was the sound of puffing and puffing. The trachea was also severed. In horror, Zhenqiang raised his head. I saw Yilin smiling brightly. Don't panic, kid, I know you have a lot of questions in your heart right now. On the strength side, the health bar is more resistant to beatings and can last for a while. Zhenqiang clenched his fists, gritting his teeth. Anger flashed in his eyes. Die. Do you want Yilin to support you? This is a problem. When he thought of death, Zhenqiang felt endless fear deep in his heart. As an apostle, every trial involves being with death, wandering between life and death. But as an apostle, he is also detached from ordinary people and the world. To a certain extent, an apostle with power can do whatever he wants, do whatever he wants, do whatever he wants. He doesn't want to die. I really don't want to. Then Yilin smiled slightly, as if he had seen through Zhenqiang's thoughts. I have a bottle of specialty ghost oil in my hand. Well, I just got it from a lottery in the other world. As for the effect, it's very simple. The wound heals quickly. Well, it's faster than you dare to think. Hearing this, Zhenqiang's eyes lit up, filled with the desire to survive. Life points are passing quickly. It's already halfway through in the blink of an eye. If he hadn't pressed hard on the bleeding spot, he would have turned into a box by now. His trachea was filled with a large amount of blood, and he began to feel suffocated. The opponent also has control skills. It can even break through his defense. Zhenqiang took 1 second to analyze the current situation. Get conclusion. It's not worth it to fight hard. Yilin didn't waste time and spoke concisely. Deal, tell me where Xiao Mo is, and I'll give you the specialty ghost oil. Zhenqiang did not hesitate at all, not even half a second, and directly chose to betray his old friend. After all, how could the life of an old friend be as important as my own? Zhenqiang made a gesture and pointed directly below. Directly below. Zhenqiang nodded quickly. Underground secret room. Zhenqiang nodded faster. Where's the entrance? Zhenqiang pointed in a direction. Book, room. He was afraid that Yilin would be dissatisfied, so he spent a lot of effort to mumble out 2 words. Study. Right. Under Zhenqiang's shocked eyes, Yilin left quickly. After I deal with Xiao Mo, I will come back and give you the specialty ghost oil. Behind him, Zhenqiang slowly fell to the ground. Yilin activated the newly obtained tasteless skill. Runs fast. As the name suggests, the function is really just to run fast. Runs fast. Grade D. Consumption 1 Chinook value /second. Effect increase movement speed by 20%. Explanation: the god of running will be with you. What the hell is the god of running? Yilin secretly complained and walked to Xiao Mo's study as quickly as possible. The mansion is large, but its structure is not complicated. It took Yilin about 30 seconds to find Xiao Mo's study. At a glance, Xiao Mo's study room is full of bookish atmosphere. One wall is a simple wooden bookshelf, which is neatly filled with books. According to the routine, the secret door is always behind the bookshelf. Yilin basically didn't need to look for it and went straight to the bookshelf. The dazzling array of books is dazzling. Yilin's pupils shrank and she remained silent. Use the fastest speed to sweep all the books into your eyes. Soon, among the many business stories, chicken soup articles, autobiographies of successful people and other messy books, one caught Yilin's attention. The substantial improvement in mental power made Yilin's reading speed much faster. But one thing worth mentioning is that in the other world, with the addition of the ghost energy buff, Yilin's mental attributes directly broke through the first layer of spiritual lock and increased to 14 points. Now all of a sudden, she is back by 6.4, he had the illusion that he had been forcibly reduced to intelligence. Escape. Escape. As expected, it's an old guy. His ideas are too good to guess, no surprises at all. Yilin reached out and pressed on the book. The secret door is always behind the bookshelf. Routines have won people's hearts since ancient times. Rich people like Xiao Mo usually find it difficult to play tricks on the design of such secret rooms. If Yilin really wanted to design it, he would design the secret room under the swimming pool in a matter of seconds. Or design it on the other side of the toilet mirror. Designing the secret door behind the bookshelf is simply cliché. Yilin opened the secret door, and another alloy door with triple verification of password, iris, and fingerprint appeared in front of her. Hee. Yilin directly took out the plain life-saving hammer. Xiao Mo was a little uneasy in the underground secret room. It has been exactly 5 minutes since the camera in the hall was destroyed. Just 5 minutes, Xiao Mo felt extremely long, seconds seemed like years. He didn't expect that Yilin and Zhenqiang were the same kind of person. He knew that in the world, there was a category of people who were beyond ordinary people. This type of people possess all kinds of strange abilities that cannot be understood by ordinary people. Without exception, this type of people are extremely terrifying. He once saw Zhenqiang murder someone. One punch blew a man's head off. And it's still several meters away. After that day, Xiao Mo tried to win over Zhenqiang at all costs. Xiao Mo fully understands how terrifying Zhenqiang is. As long as it's an ordinary person, it only takes one punch. Unexpectedly, 5 minutes have passed and there is no news from above. It's better to fight until both sides suffer. Xiao Mo gritted his teeth and muttered to himself. Ah, I'm sorry to disappoint you. Suddenly, a calm voice sounded from behind. Almost at the same time, Xiao Mo felt a sharp pain coming from the back of his head. A few seconds later, before Xiao Mo could savor the severe pain, he closed his eyes and said goodbye to the world completely. Yilin had no expression on her face as she pulled out the knife from Xiao Mo's head with a bang. Blood jasmine was too sharp and broke Xiao Mo's skull, leaving only a thin slit. So when the knife was pulled out, there was no bloody scene. Yulin's knife stabbed directly into the depths of Xiao Mo's brain, severing the pons. That part is the center of human life circulation and respiration. Xiao Mo lay forward on the table, looking like he was fast asleep. Get chaos value add 23. Xiao Mo is old and frail, and his life is only worth 23 chaos points. Next. Yulin used the fastest speed to find the Tianzu number 1 network cable interface from the corner and connected it to the pile of devices in front of her. After doing all this, Yulin turned around and prepared to leave. Yurin was on the phone while walking. Molly seemed a little surprised when she received Yulin's call. It turns out that Xiao Mo has 2 sets of AI defense systems here. I have connected the second set to Tianzu number 1 to help me open the door. Have you solved it all? Yes, Yulin said calmly. By the way, I told you that before, so there's no need. Okay. Molly's tone sounded a little guilty. But Yulin didn't notice the change in Molly's tone for a while, and quickly hung up the phone. Yulin quickly returned to the ground. Calculating the time, from bleeding Zhenqiang to killing Xiao Mo, it only took 3 minutes. Because there was no grinding when killing Xiao Mo, a lot of time was saved. So far, Yulin has not received the prompt to kill Zhenqiang. When he returned to the hall, Zhenqiang fell in a pool of blood, his body still twitching slightly. I saw that he was pressing his neck with both hands, his eyes were bulging and bloodshot, his lips and face were cyanotic, and pink foam was constantly gushing out of his mouth, nose, and throat incisions. Not dead yet? Yulin squatted in front of Zhenqiang. Start thinking silently. After Yulin made the call, Molly was extremely efficient. It only took 23 seconds to crack the AI defense system that Xiao Mo was proud of. The door opened. And after these 23 seconds, Yulin also ended the thinking process. A decision was made. He has not yet received the prompt to kill the apostle. Zhenqiang has not turned into a box yet, and is still twitching slightly on the ground. But obviously, Zhenqiang had already lost consciousness due to lack of oxygen for too long. But the power side apostles, in addition to their powerful muscles, also have vitality and physique that far exceed ordinary people. In layman's terms, it means that the health value is extremely thick. Resistant to beatings and grass. Yulin dragged Zhenqiang's body all the way to the backyard, dragging a long bloody path along the way. The burial pits were filled with corpses. Yulin reappeared, and the poor bloody man who was buried deep in the corpse and whose tongue was cut out was already dying. He only had time to raise his eyelids slightly and look at Yulin, who was leaving and returning, and his dim eyes lit up slightly. Yulin kicked Zhenqiang into the pit. The bloody man trembled slightly. He thought what Yulin threw down was a corpse. However, I didn't expect Yulin to smile slightly and only say 9 words. Kill him and live, or die. Only then did the bloody man in the pit realize that the corpse thrown down by Yulin was still twitching slightly, with a painful and ferocious expression, and he was not dead yet. If he still has strength and tongue, he actually wants to ask, what's the point? But he couldn't speak and had no strength. Live. The bloody man in the pit only had 3 words in Yulin's words swirling in his mind. Live. 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 In an instant, the will to survive defeated everything. He couldn't think about it, there was only one thought left in his mind. Kill him and live. Kill him. Kill. The bloody man suddenly opened his mouth wide and bit Zhenqiang's throat, which was close at hand. Kaka, Shishi. Yulin stood in front of the burial pit. With a calm expression, he listened to the gnawing sounds coming from the pit. I saw the bloody man biting Zhenqiang's neck, his mouth full of blood. After a while, the twitching Zhenqiang finally stopped moving. Yulin also didn't receive the prompt to kill the apostle. On the contrary, a strange gray card floated on Zhenqiang's body, and soon disappeared into the bloody man's body. In front of the bloody man, a line of text appeared out of thin air. Do you believe in God? Yes/no. The next second, the bloody man in the corpse pit looked shocked and disappeared from Yilin's eyes. Take advantage of 1 minute left. Yilin enters the module space. There are currently 2 currencies in Yilin. Death point 2350. Chaos value 52,535. The death point is obtained from the settlement of the trial in the other world, but for the First Order Apostle, before more functions are unlocked, it has no other use except repairing the body, so ignore it for the time being. Yilin couldn't help but laugh when she saw the huge chaos value. Feel good. Over 50,000 chaos points. If you want to obtain this wealth in the real world, based on the average value of 50 chaos points per human being, it is equivalent to killing 1050.7 people to obtain such a generous chaos value reward. In the real world, before the order collapses, it is an achievement that is almost difficult to achieve. Unless Yiren went to massacre regardless. Of course, Yilin can't do this kind of thing yet. In this way, what is the difference between him and the Knights of the Apocalypse who will bring war and disaster to the world in the future? But there is no psychological burden on killing monsters in the other world. Yilin quickly calmed down and started editing the module. In the mental space, Yilin first turned the 2 newly acquired skills into 2 skill balls, and they were still floating aside for the time being. Killing skills are enhancements that are learned and mastered by oneself and cannot be edited into the module. The Apostle's ability is mainly manifested in 2 aspects: skills and strengthening. Skills are abilities given by the tower. In addition to passive skills, most active skills require the consumption of spiritual energy. Strengthening is different. There are many types of strengthening. Yilin's breathing method is one type of strengthening. It must be understood and practiced personally, or the physical body must be strengthened with some ability, and only after being certified by the tower can it be classified into the enhanced category. There are many types of enhancements in the later stage, such as internal power, magic, source magic, resentment, genes, bloodline, as many as stars. In short, in this world, what can be obtained depends entirely on strength and luck. Everyone has their own path of evolution. First of all, in the spiritual world, Yilin made a thought and threw the chaos value at like a shadow. Following like a shadow is extremely cost-effective, and it is upgraded from the sea-level skill Concealed Breath and consumes only a small amount of chaos points. Moreover, Yilin's ability to reach this point after her rebirth is due to like a shadow, which is a huge contributor. Thank you, Henry Zhang. Yilin silently thanked Henry Zhang for his spirit in heaven. Like a shadow is upgraded from 1 star to 2 stars, which requires 1000 chaos points. Do you confirm the upgrade? Yes/no. Like a shadow is upgraded from 2 stars to 3 stars, which requires 2000 chaos points. Do you confirm the upgrade? Yes/no. Like a shadow is upgraded from 3 stars to 4 stars, which requires 4000 chaos points. Do you confirm the upgrade? Yes/no. Like a shadow is upgraded from 4 stars to 5 stars, which requires 8000 chaos points. Do you confirm the upgrade? Yes/no. Chaos value consumption doubled. Snap, snap, snap. Yilin had no expression on her face and pressed yes 4 times in a row. Following like a shadow. Grade 5 stars, max. Consumption 2 psychic energy points/second. Effect: when the target is out of sight or hidden in the shadows, the presence is reduced by 100%. Explanation: you are the man destined to become a shadow. The sense of presence dropped by 100%, which was as expected by Yilin. Unexpectedly, when reaching the 5th level, the consumption of spiritual energy was actually reduced. Yilin was satisfied with this result. However, the consumption of chaos value is a bit too exaggerated. Just raising like a shadow to the full 5-star level consumes 15,000 chaos points. The original skill was upgraded to max and can no longer be improved. But Yilin clicked again casually. There is no other reason, it is safe. But a line of prompts actually appeared in front of me. Insufficient permissions. Insufficient permissions. Yilin pondered this prompt carefully. It seems that, for now, the Apocalypse Night module can only upgrade skills to the full 5-star level. Just, for now. Looking at the remaining confusion points, Yilin fell into confusion again. The next direction of skill improvement will determine his fighting style in the future. As a preliminary idea, Yilin listed 3 plans. Plan A, upgrade Disaster Ridden. Plan B, upgrade Demon Killing Technique. Plan C, upgrade Run Fast. Of course, the reason why Plan C is that it is generally not considered. Disaster Haunted is upgraded from the B-level skill Psychic Shock. The starting point is already higher than Like a Shadow. To upgrade Disaster Haunted to 5 stars, a total of 30,000 chaos points will be consumed. Indeed enough. But Yilin had more considerations. After thinking about it, he silently stuffed the Demon Slayer skill ball floating in the void into the module. This operation requires 10,000 chaos points. Yes/no? Yes. Do you want me to add more updates? If you want, make your first order. I'm waiting for you at the end of the liver. Infinity Throne. Author, by Yi Shueshi. Chapter 90. There seems to be a matching mechanism in the Apocalypse Night mod. Although all the skill balls on the module have been broken, when Yilin drags the Demon Slayer skill ball, the corresponding skill has an invisible attraction, as if to control Yilin's skill ball and inhale it. Yilin's thoughts moved slightly. There was no resistance to this suction. Instead, he allowed the Demon Slayer skill ball in his mind to merge into the broken skill slot. The skill ball that is about to light up in Demon Slayer technique is just after Disaster Haunted. In other words, from this moment on the line extending deep into the void where the skill ball Disaster Haunted is located, there is an additional resident. It's too late, but it's soon. It's like it's destined somewhere. The Demon Killing Technique skill ball was integrated into the Shattering skill slot in the blink of an eye. After the broken ball absorbed the Demon Killing Technique skill ball, the cracks on the surface of the ball were quickly repaired and healed at a speed visible to the naked eye. In the blink of an eye, it became round and round, intact. At the same time, the skill ball shimmered with scarlet light. At first glance, it looks a bit like Yilin's ghost eyes hidden in the thick fog in Ghost Mist Mountain. Consumption of chaos value 10,000. Remaining chaos value, 27,535. Demon Slaying Technique is upgraded to Bloodthirsty Disaster. The attributes of the upgraded skills emerge in Yilin's spirit. When the details of how to use the skill emerged in Yilin's mind, she couldn't help but marvel twice. Next, Yilin's eyes narrowed and he spent the remaining chaos points on the new skill without hesitation. Bloodthirsty Disaster is upgraded from 1 star to 2 stars, which requires 20,000 chaos points. Do you confirm the upgrade? Yes/no? Yes. Update successed. The remaining chaos value is currently 7,535. Bloodthirsty Disaster. Level 2 stars. Consumption 50% HP. Restrictions: you must say loudly "It's not me, it's the world that's wrong," before you can activate the skill. Effect: every time you kill a life, you can choose to absorb 20% of the total attributes of the deceased strength, agility, and spirit, and condense it into 1 layer of blood wool. A total of 5 layers of blood wool can be accumulated. After using the skill, all blood wool can be consumed to generate self-assigned temporary attribute values. Duration 210 seconds. Cooling time 48 hours. Note, apostles will fall into a weak state during the skill cooling period. Explanation: death is like the wind, accompanying me. If you are not careful, you may die before killing someone. The upgraded bloodthirsty catastrophe. Yilin slowly typed another, in the spiritual world. One is that the chaos value is consumed a lot. The second is to marvel at the terror of this skill. A simple calculation: if you kill one Xiao Yang, a layer of blood can superimpose 2 points of free attributes. If you kill 5 Xiao Yang, a total of 10 points of free attributes can be superimposed. As we all know, Xiao Yang here is a quantifier. This is only a 2-star skill. If there is a chance to rise to 5 stars, Yilin can almost imagine how high his attribute values will be superimposed once the skill is released. But a skill with such terrifying effects has many limitations. Not only does using a skill consume 50% of your health, but it is also a 2-star skill with a duration of only 210 seconds. After using Bloodthirsty Disaster, you will be in a weak state for 48 hours. In other words, the Bloodthirsty Disaster skill upgraded from Demon Slayer technique can only be used as the last trump card. When Yilin has to use this skill, it can only end in a fight to the death. In a short period of time, it is estimated that it will be difficult for Yilin to obtain such a huge chaos value to upgrade Bloodthirsty Disaster, which is a pity. At present, Yilin still has a little more than 7,000 chaos points left. Runs fast? Forget it. This 20% movement speed bonus looks beautiful, but it is actually based on the Apostle's agility attribute. Yilin is not agility side enhancement, and the cost effectiveness of this skill is not very high. After hesitating for a moment, Yilin used the remaining chaos value to upgrade Disaster Ridden. Disaster Ridden is upgraded from 1 star to 2 stars, which requires 2,000 chaos points. Do you confirm the upgrade? Disaster Ridden is upgraded from 2 stars to 3 stars, which requires 4,000 chaos points. Do you confirm the upgrade? Snap. One click to connect to. Yilin didn't hesitate. In an instant, 6,000 chaos points passed away like running water. Update successed. The remaining chaos value is currently 1,535. After the upgrade, the new skill attributes have also undergone many changes. Disaster Ridden. Grade 3 stars. Consumption 160 spiritual energy points. Restrictions: you must say "let the world feel pain" from now on loudly before you can activate the skill. Effect: it can cause a single target within sight to fall into a random negative state, confusion, slowness, dizziness, imprisonment, charm, blinding, etc. There is a 50% chance of causing the target to fall into more than one random negative state. The skill effect is affected by the spirit attributes, and the target's will attributes are affected. Explanation: if you love, say it out loud. How to say? After experiencing the surprise of Bloodthirsty Catastrophe, the upgraded effect of Disaster Haunted seemed a bit mediocre. Thin and tasteless. Of course, this is just an illusion. After upgrading 2 levels in a row, the cost of Disaster Haunting has been reduced from 200 Shinik points to 160 Shinik points. Moreover, the chance of the same skill falling into multiple negative states has also increased from 30% to 50%. In other words, if Yilin desperately wants to make the opponent happy to the end, with his current spiritual energy value, the minimum guarantee is 4 consecutive disasters. If he is lucky, he may be 5 or 6. Basically, it's the same thing. I can't imagine it, just mourn for the other party. As the old saying goes, defeat the enemy without fighting. That's probably what it means. It is no exaggeration to say that Yilin can defeat the enemy directly on the spiritual level without even using his hands. This skill may become a nightmare and disaster for countless people. Yilin squandered all the chaos points in one breath and felt refreshed. After briefly pondering the structure of the entire module, Yilin exited the module space. After all, he has not forgotten that there are still things to deal with in the real world. After leaving the spiritual space, Yilin opened the apostle panel and took a look. Ilan, ID, 1010. Health 100%. Psychic energy value 640. Module Apocalypse Night, damaged. Level LV8, First Order Apostle. Strength 2.4. Agility 3.9. Spirit 6.4. Will 7.3. Lucky 3.6. Charm 2.2. Skills follow you like a shadow, max, plagued by disaster, 3 stars, bloodthirsty disaster, 2 stars, run fast, D level. Enhanced killing skills, A level. Looking at the new panel properties, Yilin's lips curled up slightly and she smiled knowingly. Time flows differently in the spiritual world than in the real world. When he left the spiritual world and returned to the real world, the bloody man had not yet appeared. Yilin was not in a hurry and waited silently. 15 seconds later. In the burial pit. In the pile of corpses. The disappeared bloody man reappears. He survived. The bloody man's eyes were filled with shock. He survived the cruel trial of being a preparatory apostle. Yilin has personally experienced that preparing an apostle can be said to be one of the trials with the highest elimination rate. During the trial when Yilin became an apostle, she stepped on the corpses of 4 preparatory apostles and survived. According to Yilin's speculation, the probability of the bloody man surviving is less than 20%. The reason why he gave the bloody man a chance was because he felt that under the same conditions, the bloody man who was on the verge of death had a stronger desire to survive than other people. That desire to survive could even make him, who was dying, bite out Zhenqiang's throat with his teeth. In the end, he survived. Become an apostle. As for the second reason, Yilin had other plans. Come up. Yilin's face was expressionless, but there was a condescending tone in her tone. The bloody man nodded silently and crawled out of the pit of corpses. Before crawling out, the bloody man lowered his head and took a look at the pile of corpses. Among the corpses, a strange corpse was buried. Wearing a pure white mask with a number on it. 99. He reached out and took off the mask, put it into the storage space, then stepped on the face full of fear and climbed out of the pit. Yilin's expression was calm. He could roughly guess the reason why the bloody man did this. White Shadow Club. Yilin said secretly in his heart. But on the surface, he remained calm. What's your name? The bloody man had a reserved expression and stood beside Yilin with his head lowered. Hearing Yilin's question, he opened his mouth and made a few unclear hoarse sounds in his hoarse voice, indicating something. Under the moonlight, Yilin discovered that the severed tongue of the bloody man had been repaired by the tower. Before entering the other world, the bloody man's limbs were strangely twisted, and his limbs and bones must have been broken. Your vocal cords were also damaged. The bloody man stopped his hoarse voice and nodded. Not enough death points. The bloody man nodded again, with a hint of bitterness at the corner of his mouth. In this way, Yilin understood. Although he has never experienced it, he knows that some people who have been seriously injured in the real world, or who are physically disabled due to some acquired reasons, are summoned by the tower by chance and get the opportunity to enter the other world. For the sake of fairness, the tower will lend a sum of death points to the preparatory apostles to repair their bodies. But in the final settlement, if the arrears cannot be paid, tower will thoughtfully restore the injury. Of course, it's okay to refuse to repay. 2 words. Obliterate. In Yilin's view, tower is a collection of contradictions. Have will, but no wisdom. The administration is fair, but cold and ruthless. He gave mankind the power of an apostle, but brought destruction to the world. To this day, Yilin still cannot figure out why the tower appeared and why it came to Earth. And why, to lead the world to the end. Everything is mysterious and unknown. In other words, the points obtained by Blood Man in the final settlement were only enough for him to repair his limbs and tongue, but not enough points to repair the damaged vocal cords. That's fine. Yulin raised her head and stared into the uneasy eyes of the bloody man. Suddenly he said, "Let the world feel pain from now on." The next second, the bloody man's eyes were distracted, and he immediately squatted on the ground, his limbs curled up, his whole body trembling, his pupils getting bigger and bigger, his face turned pale, and he was sweating like rain. The neighing came out of his mouth, as if he was experiencing some kind of extremely frightening torture. Fear. Fortunately, there are no random special effects such as charm and blinding that are innocuous. It actually saved Yulin a lot of effort. After about 4 seconds, the bloody man stopped shaking and slowly got up from the ground. When he stood up again, he no longer dared to look into Yulin's eyes. The head is bowed deeply. Do you understand? From now on, your life belongs to me. Yulin smiled slightly. He continued, the past you are dead. From today on, you are called, Ling Wen. This is your new identity. Ling Wen was silent for a moment. In fact, he was speechless. Then, he knelt down on one knee. Kneel down in front of Yulin. Express surrender. If he had a little bit of a desire to fight after becoming an apostle a second ago. But when Yulin showed a method that frightened him, he quickly gave up such thoughts. After all, after he became an apostle, he also understood some of the rules of the other world. Zhenqiang was beaten half to death by Yulin and thrown into a grave. Yulin doesn't have to do this. But Yulin's trivial act gave Ling Wen new life. This? There's no need to be so formal, right? Although Ling Wen's method surprised Yulin. But after thinking about it, forget it. Get up. Ling Wen stood up and stood silently beside Yulin. In order to facilitate communication, Yulin reported his apostle ID to Ling Wen, and asked Ling Wen to add him to the address book and set it to non-private mode. In the communication function, there are 5 names in total. Li Chang'e, Pan Zhenji, Wen Mani, Ling Wen, Oda Wu. Among them, Wen Mani's profile was completely dimmed because she was stripped of her apostle qualifications. It will never come online again. Yulin casually deleted Wen Mani's name. Li Chang'e's profile picture flashed crazily, indicating that there were unread messages. Yulin didn't bother to pay attention. I set do not disturb on my back. After killing the Ghost King, Yulin conveniently asked for Oda Mai's apostle ID. After all, they have fought side by side, and Oda Mai is also very strong. Yulin will naturally not refuse to have another friend with good strength. It's better than being an enemy. Ling Wen, Ling Wen. Yulin smiled slightly. I finally feel relieved about Ling Wen. The name authenticated by the tower is actually not as simple as the name registered on the file in the real world. It is the name that is truly recognized deep in the heart, the root of the soul, that will be recognized by the tower. In other words, after Yulin's kindness and power, Ling Wen truly recognized his new identity in his heart and recognized that Yulin had given him a new life, and then the name Ling Wen was displayed in the address book list. Otherwise, it will be his previous name. He opened Ling Wen's business card and took a look. Ling Wen ID, 923. Level LV4, First Order Apostle. LV4? In other words, Ling Wen actually received an A level or above evaluation in the preparatory apostle trial. This actually surprised Yulin. However, this is not important. The next step is to consider the aftermath. I have a bit of a headache. It's almost time to come. Apart from what happened in the other world, too many things happened tonight in the real world, from the time Xiao Yi came to the door and he detonated the bomb to Xiao Mo's death. Perhaps there is no need to wait until dawn, the whole Qingcheng will be shaken by the series of accidents. Although Yulin was confident that he left no evidence, sometimes, evidence may not be needed. It's okay to suspect a car without evidence. Even if the blood left by Ling Wen in the corpse pit contains DNA, Yulin can still solve it. It's just a matter of setting fire to the corpse and destroying all traces. Only. Suddenly, from the direction of Xiao's front yard, there was the sound of steady footsteps. Tread, tread, tread. Not loud. But every time, it was like stepping on Yulin's heartbeat. When Yulin Guang heard the footsteps, she felt like her heart was being squeezed. This feeling of my heart being squeezed silently is extremely uncomfortable. Ling Wen, who stood silently behind Yulin, seemed to have the same feeling. He frowned and looked in the direction of the footsteps in shock. In fact, theoretically, this is impossible to do. After all, Yulin and Ling Wen are different individuals, and their heart rates are different. Even if it is once or twice, there is always a difference. But the sound of footsteps coming from Xiao's front yard simultaneously made Yulin and Ling Wen feel as if their hearts were being stepped on. This is a bit strange. Suddenly, a knife appeared in Yulin's hand. Blood jasmine. That deadly knife that comes from outside and is forged from unknown elements. Because I just came out of the other world, I haven't had time to sort out the harvest in detail, and the spirit card has not been used yet. Today, blood jasmine is still an ordinary weapon. But, clenching the knife in her hand made Yulin feel more confident out of thin air. He raised his head and looked into the darkness. A tall figure walked towards the two of them step by step. 50 meters. 30 meters. 20 meters. Yulin's pupils shrank suddenly. At the same time, Ling Wen gritted his teeth and took a step forward under this strange situation. Faintly standing in front of Yulin. His life belongs to Yulin. He didn't forget. Speechless, step back. Yulin stared at the figure in the dark night, her heart skipped a beat, and she said expressionlessly. Ling Wen was slightly startled, enduring the squeezing feeling in his chest, but without hesitation, he took 2 steps back and remained completely silent. The visitor was an old man wearing a pure black retro kung fu robe. The old man was wearing a pair of white cloth shoes. The steady footsteps were actually the sound of soft cloth shoes falling on the soil. The kung fu robe is an unbuttoned style that wraps both sides toward the center. The waist is fixed with a corset and the chest is in a deep V shape. The old man came step by step. Boom, boom, boom. The sound of footsteps is as heavy as a bell. Yulin felt like she was suffocating. The heart beats with the footsteps of the old man. When within 10 meters, the old man slowly raised his left foot. About to step on the ground. The moment Yulin saw this action, his scalp was numb and his spine felt chilly. He actually had an illusion that once the old man's foot touched the ground, his heart seemed to explode with the last note, on the spot. The heart will be stepped on and burst from the air. Although it is incredible. But at this moment, Yulin feels this way. But regardless of whether his heart would explode if he stepped on it, Yulin had an intuition that she couldn't let the old man drop this foot anyway. His instinct told him that the consequences would be horrific. Fear. Great horror. Yulin's mouth was dry. In an instant, he almost without thinking, launched disaster-ridden on the old man without hesitation. Let the world feel pain from now on.